there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, everybody. This is Sal Abruscato from A Pale Horse Named Death, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Be sure to crank it up.
The views and opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father. And as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's a huge honor and privilege to welcome back vocalist and guitarist Sal Abruscato of A Pale Horse Named Death. A Pale Horse Named Death, led by founding Typo Negative and Life of Agony member Sal Abruscato, will release their fourth studio album entitled Infernum In Terra on September 24th via Long Branch Records /SPV. Also check out the band's third single and video, Reflections of the Dead, and singles Believe in Something, You're Lost, and Shards of Glass. Also check out albums And Hell Will Follow Me, Lay My Soul to Waste, and When the World Becomes Undone. So Sal, welcome back to the show and glad to talk to you again, man.
Hello, John. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Doing great, actually. So
thank you for having me.
Not a problem whatsoever. I've been a huge fan of you guys for a very long time because I just like how you guys do stuff. But how excited are you to release this fourth studio album entitled Infernum In Terra on September 24th via Long Branch Records, man? Because especially in this crazy time of this pandemic that we're still in.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm just happy to always be releasing new music. It's always a blessing and a pleasure to be, bringing to the fans where I'm at mentally and musically. So it's always exciting, and it's 4 records now. So starting to have some history, starting to have some mileage under our belts, and I just love creating and presenting what I do, and it's always great when people like it, because when people like it, that's the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I love it, man. There's nothing bad about these albums whatsoever, and I preach it. I swear I do.
Thank you.
So with this album, has the pandemic took effect on the writing process with this? Was this sort of thrown in there with all this, or was these songs already previously written, or what, Sal?
Well, I do everything myself,
right,
in my studio in my house. So the pandemic didn't stop me because I'm a multi-instrumentalist on all the albums. And I guess I'm like the Trent Reznor of Doom. The pandemic happened, but I still recorded everything with the exception of guitar solos in my house. I had Eddie and Joe Taylor, submit the guitar solos after sending them the music that I wanted them to do solos on. But like on all the albums, I do the drums, I do the bass, I do, all of it, vocals, piano, rhythm guitar. So nothing stops me. And I really like this kind of flow that I have where I can really get out what's on my mind without any interruptions, without anybody, stopping me or trying to change my mind about something. I'm very determined. I know what I want, and I execute it and get it done. So the pandemic was, if anything, partially influential on the title of the album. I actually started sketching around January 2020, but by the time the shutdown happened, I was involved in some other things personally, but I started recording ideas, when I would get in the mood and, turn on the studio, start recording. And then I took like a big chunk of time off. I had already like 4 rough songs in the can, 3-4 songs. And then in the fall, because for some reason the fall and the winter always puts me in that mood, I wrote from October to November, I did another 4 songs, Shards of Glass being one of them, Reflections of the Dead. and then I started working on the soundscapes and vocals over the holidays. And by the time we did vocals in January, I did a lot of mixing in February and March. And by the end of March, it was mastered. The record was mastered by Applebaum. And we delivered ahead of schedule because the label really didn't even expect me to do another record after When the World Becomes Undone so quickly. Mm-hmm. But again, this is why I want to be, I like the way I'm running things because I can actually probably deliver records more frequent now, which I already have in my mind. I want to start working over the winter on another one. And I've already recorded some ideas. So the Pandora box is open again.
That's good.
And yeah. So I think that's the best thing I can do because in this day and age, I know everyone's trying to like hope things go back to normal, but I think this is the new normal. We're never going to have what we used to have. I don't think. I think this was a total global reset and a new world order that's been put into effect. So, I feel that getting music out is the best option we have right now because the restrictions are just changing every day.
Yeah, and now everybody's going to have to show like vaccinations, passes and all that stuff because I know there's some festivals that you couldn't come into unless you had a vaccination pass or a negative test.
I mean, yeah,
it's crazy right now.
Europe's very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Europe is you've got a number of things fighting against everybody. You've got a lot of promoters and venues and festivals have gone broke from waiting 2 years to try to make some money back. You've got all the 2020 and 2021 acts that have been canceled in line to play in 2022. So there's a waiting list now. There's a waiting list, and I basically, I'm being told from agents like 2023 to go do festivals in Europe. I don't know where I'm going to be in 2023. It's not like I'm 18. So, and the States, you have, a very divided country right now where, you have some shows happening in some places and then some places you can't even go to a restaurant. So I know like there's some bands doing shows and stuff, but then you hear about them getting sick a few days later. I mean, look at Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Look at Corey Taylor from Slipknot. I mean, it just, they try, they go do some shows and all of a sudden, even with the vaccination, they're catching some variant. I think the American people need to open their eyes. What's really going on?
Mm-hmm. So were you a little nervous releasing this album right now since you can't tour, since you really can't do much on it other than maybe live stream, or you just want to get out there to stay relevant, say, hey, we're still here, we're not going nowhere? I'm
just a prolific creative entity. So I'm going to sit here when I get in the mood and record either way. And I'm not worried about anything, I'm not worried about, not being able to tour. I'm not going to worry about any of this stuff. This stuff is all out of my control. Right. What I can control is my creative output and I think fans, when they get something new like this record right now, it will do nothing but bring them joy. Yeah, so we got to stop looking at like, oh, the shows and the tours. We have to start just looking at like, hey, you can actually sit in the safety of your own home and listen and watch the video and listen to the record. At least you're getting some fresh material. I'm surprised actually not. I know there's some bands coming out with new records, but not as many as I would have thought. I thought more would have taken advantage of this, time of remission and shutdown. That's where we're at. Unfortunately, it's all out of our control.
I've even said this to, unsigned bands, garage bands, stuff like that, man, because I support everybody. I've even talked to them and said, hey, right now it feels like it's an even playing field for every musician, if that makes sense. As far as like, putting stuff out, streaming, things like that, it's like an even playing field, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because of technology,
mm-hmm.
I see a lot of bands are into doing this kind of, streaming make-believe concert stuff and trying to get charge some kind of fee for it. We have this technology, what we're doing right now, this Zoom thing, which I'm new to. So we can actually still be in a way face to face and talk about things and do interviews. I've been doing that with a number of journalists. So these are the pros of the technology that's going on right now. I think people have learned a valuable lesson. I remember when a couple of years ago, I'd be rolling into town, or we did like 4 tours for When the World Becomes Undone, and I would constantly get so many people saying, "Oh, I can't wait to see you, can't wait to see you, can't wait to see you." And when you play the show, it's like, it's half the amount of people that say they can't wait to see you. And I think that people need to learn a valuable lesson here, where it's not a given. It's not a guarantee. This is not entitlement. You're not entitled to a concert every week. It's nobody's job to make sure you get a concert every week. So when a concert does roll through your town, get up off your butt, go support the band. Because sitting at home and saying, "Oh, I'll check it out tomorrow when it's uploaded on YouTube," isn't helping the band. It's only helping YouTube. It's not making the band a dime. You're not going to buy their merch like that. And so I think people have grown. It began happening in Europe. I remember when there was a time in Europe where it was bleak in the early 90s, when anybody could show up from America and they would sell out a place. And they became very westernized there, to the point where there was a band playing every night there as well. So people get complacent and feel like, "Oh yeah, I'll see them next time. I'll catch them next time." And this kind of attitude, now that you got some bands that people haven't seen for 2-3 years, or haven't gone to a show in 18 months. Now what do you think? You think you're going to get up and go out and see the concert when they come through your town? Yeah. I think there'll be like an urgency of appreciation for people to get up off their lazy asses and go see a band, and go pay that $10-15 to go see them, and go buy their $10, $20 shirt, because this is what keeps things going. This is not a given. Again, people put their lives on the line. People put their families on the line to spend 4 weeks or 3 weeks on the road, risking possible tragedy in an accident, or crashing in the van, or, people risk a lot to come to your little town and play a show. So when there's only like 5 people there, a band's gonna be like, "Screw that, I ain't going back to Scranton or something, or wherever it is, whatever town it is in the country." It just puts a bad taste in people's mouths and feel unappreciated. So it's a tough job what these especially young musicians, like kids, just like I was a kid in the early 90s, getting in a van and living off of potato chips and tuna fish, going around the country trying to make a buck. And it's even harder now, more than ever. So maybe the valuable lesson that's been brought by this pandemic is, appreciate, whether it's an unknown band that comes to your town, or, Metallica, go see the concert if you want to support it, if you want it to keep happening. But again, there is things out of our control. We got constant restrictions, and we have a new variant happening almost every month now, because that is going to be the new way of living. We're going to be told there's a new variant every few months.
I absolutely, it hurts me so bad to stand. But I liked your guys' music so much that I went and stood for 3.5 hours to watch you guys plus Danzig, that whole tour, man. And I don't regret any single minute of it, other than I was in pain. But I don't regret any fucking thing of it, man, because
it was a great tour.
Yeah, because it's like you said. Who knows if Danzig will roll through Kentucky again? Who knows if a pale horse named Death will roll through again? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I went. I was like, I'm not missing this out, man. This is a once in a lifetime to see Doyle and Glenn to do Misfit shit too. I was like, I'm not missing this. I'll lean up against the damn rail if I have to.
Glenn now is in his mid-60s. You think that guy's going to run out the door to go be amongst a bunch of hot, sweaty people in a non-ventilated venue?
No.
He's got a lot more to be worried about as far as getting possibly sick, right? Because the older you are, a little bit tougher it is. And the harder the life you lived, the tougher it's going to be on you too if you catch it. So, again, this complacency that, we've got a lot of younger people that are much younger than us, that have this "I want it now" entitlement thing and just click the button and you got it. You got to really appreciate whether it's these tour packages or these bands that come in by themselves. Go see them. If you really want this to keep happening, go see them, because you don't know when it's the end. And we have artists passing away now. A lot of our favorite artists are in an age group that, the end does happen. It's inevitable.
Right.
We just lost Charlie Watts. Now the Stones will never be the same again, right?
Exactly.
So, we lost Prince, we lost Bowie, we lost Lemmy from Motorhead, we lost Eric Wagner, the lead singer of Trouble. We lose so many artists, whether they're super huge or not. And you know what? There's not a whole lot replacing them. There ain't gonna be. They ain't some up and coming kid that's the next Bowie. You know what I mean? Or the next Prince or Lemmy. I don't see very much as far as replacing that kind of level of talent. So just be grateful that you lived through it and you got it, and you get to see it maybe, because you just don't know when it's over.
You mentioned this new album represents a new beginning, turning a new leaf, so to speak. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know each one of these albums are special to you, and they are a new beginning.
Well, it's a new beginning because it's the album that I solely recorded, mixed, engineered, and produced all by myself, and had no involvement from anyone. Previous albums, I've always had a partner, a production partner, which usually would be a member of the band. So I would co-mix or co-produce. So this was a bucket list thing for me, where I felt I was ready to do it all myself, along then with the help of Applebaum that did the final mastering. So that was one of the new leaps. The other, turning a new leaf. The other new leaf was it wasn't even intentional, but I didn't really go focus on every song being about manic depression, suicidal stuff, poor, woe is me kind of stuff, right? I kind of delved into where it's a new chapter, where the band took a little bit more of a demonic turn on an even darker side, where there's more darker visuals and music in regards to, like songs like Cast Out from the Sky is about the fall of Lucifer, when he got banished from heaven and fell to earth. A song like Lucifer's Son, which is S-U-N, son, meaning it's about humanity and where we're at right now, and that we're all destined to burn, because the human race has really taken a nosedive lately in the last few years. And so it's biblical in a sense, still biblical and apocalyptic, but just not about a specific person going through a specific emotion. It's more of a storytelling thing. And then again, and so there's some elements like that, and even like the soundscape "It Is Done" is touches on that whole, let's say, satanic doctrine. So that's where there was some changes. I was itching to kind of go a little bit more in that direction. Mm-hmm. I'm an equal opportunity offender and shock and awe type of person. I believe that, to be a god, there has to be a devil, and to be a devil, you have to have God. You need light to go with darkness. You need darkness to go with light. So it's all the yin and yang of the universe. You have to have these two polar opposites, positive and negative, in this universe for things to work. Mm-hmm. That's what it really all boils down to. So stuff like new artist. Well, I can't forget Kelvin Duran of Serpent Touch Studios. This was the fourth album. This was the first album with a new artist. That Kelvin is from Dublin, Ireland, and what had happened was I had contacted the previous artist that did the first three records. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm doing a fourth record. Where are you at? You want to be involved? And they respectfully declined. Fine. At least I knew I gave them the first opportunity, since they were already there for three records. But since I guess, things happen for a reason. One door closes, another door opens. And when I put the word out there that I was looking for a new artist, I had like 20 artists contact me, and that was great. I was really surprised at that. And Kelvin was one of the artists that reached out to me. And I was looking for a specific artist that was really good with this type of line art, hand-drawn stuff, kind of something that it mimics 15th, 16th century wood engraving line art, stuff you would see in like the witch trial books and all that stuff. And when I told him the title, I gave him the title, Infernum In Terra. He comes back a week later with a hand-drawn rough sketch of the cover. And at first I was like, wow. Because I specifically told him, I don't want no horses on the cover. I said, yeah, the band's name is A Pale Horse Named Death, but enough with the horses. We've had 3 records with horse imagery. Let's time for a fresh look, time to move on. Everyone gets it. Pale Horse Named Death. Everyone gets it. It's not a brand new band where we need that, and he managed to incorporate the horse shield on this Bible looking book that this demonic papal figure is holding. So when he, sent me these sketches, the fact that it was so religious looking, biblical looking, you have these almost like disciples, apostles standing around this almost religious satanic figure holding a book, and also holding this new inverted cross with the horseshoe that we created called the Lucifix. I was blown away. I was like, this is it. This is awesome. And the coloration that he brought into the picture, because I did say, let's steer away from this green color business, because I get bored after a while. And again, green is very associated with typo negative, and that's great. And I'll never, it's not that I'm disassociating myself from it, but it's you need to have our own identity as well. Can't always be correlated with typo and this and that. That's where I'm from. That's where my influences are. And Peter was my mentor when it came to songwriting and playing guitar and bass. So I pay homage in one form or another anyway on every record to him. So, but he came up with this cool, I don't know what you would call this color, but almost of a little bit of a turquoise, deep blue.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what the color's called, but it's like a mixture of all that. And just blew me away. And then the rest of the layout is off the hook. The back of the record, if you get the vinyl, it's double gatefold, and inside is this incredible scene going on with this possessed witch surrounded by villagers. Some want to protect her, some want to kill her. Same thing. There's this look of confusion in people's faces, just like the album cover. You have these village disciple type people. Some are actually fearful of the being, and some are enamored and ready to worship. So of course this band has always built itself on these apocalyptic scenario, religious scenarios. And so it was a perfect union between us, me and Kelvin. He's a great kid, great artist. And I'm really glad that he contacted me.
Yeah, he knocked this out of the ballpark. I got to see the cover art of it, and it's just absolutely floored me. I was like, you got your other 3 previous albums, like you said, the horse is on there, which it's cool. But like you said, you want your own identity to go away from that. But he knocked it out of the ballpark, Sal, honestly, with this.
I agree. I've been hearing that across the board from everyone. I actually was feeling the previous album it got a little bit boring. And I was like, okay, another horse head. And I was pressed for time. Same thing with the production of the album. I was pressed for time. We didn't correct a few things that happened. So this record is the turning of the new leaf, where I got 110% things out the way I wanted them. And this is the result. And this positive feedback that I'm getting is incredible. I just checked, like, even our video, Joel Nilsson, who is an incredible director, and Tony Jelenovich assisted. These were the guys that did the previous video from the previous album, Fell in My Hole. And so Same thing with Joel Nilsson. We went back and forth discussing the ideas and what I kind of envisioned and what he envisioned, and he knocked it out of the park. That this video is only 2 weeks old, and we already have over 92,000 views.
Oh, show.
Yeah, and yesterday was 2 weeks from the date it got put out, and so I haven't seen not one video in the past even perform that quickly. So I was just like, wow, this is great. I'm totally on this right track. Whether I have, whoever, may not feel the same or whatever, the past is the past, but I'm on the right track now. And that's why I want to seize the moment and continue to go even further doomy or further darker. I've got this whole new inspiration. Like, this album is inspiring me to do the next album, because I've really started to, I think I really carved a niche out now. And I also learned that the power I have is unstoppable as far as creativity, putting it down, recording it, releasing it. It's unstoppable. I know, like some people, it's not an egotistical thing in any way. It's not. It's because I have experiences in the past where I have been involved in collaborative efforts, and I've watched, whether I be sitting from behind the kit or holding a guitar, I have watched situations, and I would have nothing but regret later on, because when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, that saying is so true. Too many chefs spoil the soup. Mm-hmm. And you really have to, the person standing next to you is not going to see the vision complete in your mind the way you see it. And they're going to interject, they're going to butt in, blah, 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 blah. So this all of a sudden slows the process down. This is why you hear about some bands taking years and years and years and years to get a record together, because they're letting everyone have an opinion. And when everyone has an opinion and don't just do their job, things get slowed down, because people start getting emotional and feel bad for this guy. I feel bad we didn't use his riff. You know what I mean? It just gets slowed down. But like this, I know I can set an end goal in my mind and be like, well, you know what? I think by spring or by summer, I'll be done with another record. And I can just hand it to the label to release it when they see fit. You know what I mean? So I can actually become, because I'd like to see this band have a catalog of 6, 7 records, maybe more, maybe less. I don't know, as long as life permits it, because it is very complicated. I don't sit home playing rock star. I'm a dad. I'm the plumber, the electrician. I'm the ground maintenance here on my property. I'm a husband. Yeah. I'm a car guy. I'm going to crawl into my car later. I got one car in the shop getting body work. I got my other car in the garage. I'm one of those guys that I'm probably one of the last of the Renaissance men where I know how to do everything, and I do, and that's what I do, And I have 3 acres I have to maintain. We just had a bad storm. Been chainsawing, using my chainsaw, cutting crap down, and do it all. So we got to balance.
From the last time I've talked to you, I see happiness, and if that makes sense, you seem more happier, because has this fueled your fire more now?
It's fueled my fire as a songwriter, as an individual artist that is not afraid of opinions. In the beginning, even lay my soul to waste, I was worried about rejection vocally, worried about, like, every time I wrote a song, is this song does it have what it takes? Does it have, so I think happiness is cutting the chains of that are holding you down, to artistically holding you down, especially when you have, again, you're worried about other people's feelings, or you're worried about other people's opinions, or you're worried about what they're going to think or what they're going to say. This was my concept from 2009. This was my baby. And I was fortunate enough, for example, to work with Matt Brown, who's still my friend to this day. He worked with me on the first 2 records, and I learned a lot from him as well. And he gave me a lot of moral support to keep going as well as a vocalist. when we initially worked together, me and him on the first record, because it was just me and him. There was no band. This was originally a studio project. That's what this was intended to be. I had no idea I was going to end up with a live band going on the road. I had no idea I'd one day be on a Danzig tour like you saw me on. And I had no idea I'd be 4 albums later talking to you. I had this collection of music. I was going through a divorce from my first marriage at that time. So I had this a lot of pent up stuff coming out. And it was intended to be just a studio project. And I had no idea I was even the thing was going to get signed by SPV. And then one thing led to another, and it just kind of became this machine. And then you get the band guys come into the picture, and all of a sudden it's like it gets complicated. And it gets complicated because you have to work around a lot of people, who's available, who's not available. Can you do this show? Can you do this? It just gets really complicated. So there's something about stripping that all out for now. And I think that this is what the pandemic has done. The pandemic has kind of made it impossible to get together with people, because I mean, you have some people that will be concerned about getting together for the virus, and then you find yourself like even trying to make a rehearsal happen amongst 4 or 5 musicians, next to impossible. I think I've jammed 3 times with the current lineup. And it's been really difficult to even get anywhere with anything, because of you get the last minute call, I got to cancel. You get the last minute call, oh, I came down with COVID, or you get the last minute call, I'm hungover from playing a different gig the night before. So this happiness is me knowing that I could sit here right now, get off the phone with you. I can open up the studio and start recording. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's how it is. It's like I'll just pick up my Les Paul and just go, boom.
Do you feel the new single "Reflections of the Dead" is simply one of the best doom songs you've ever written?
I'm starting to feel like that. I think it's right up there with "Die Alone."
Oh wow.
It's definitely a little bit different. Die Alone was very personal. Reflections of the Dead is more of a story that deals with suicide also at the end. It's basically a song about someone that has this gift that they're manically depressed, but yet they see dead souls, the dead on the other side of the dimension, and they're so enamored by it, and they're so tortured in this real world that they want to cross over and go there, which leads to suicide, right? So Reflections of the Dead was one of those songs where I picked up my guitar, turned on the amp, and I put it on. I'm standing there, and I had everything open, but I wasn't recording, and I just all those parts just happened. Same thing happened with Shards of Glass. Melody, music just fell out of me in 5 minutes, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta record something rough right now, because I don't want to forget it, because that's happened in the past where I'm so scatterbrained about so many things going on in my life, where I'll be at a red light and come up with a great melody and a great lyrical line, and then I'll be like, what was that? What, I'll forget maybe. So Reflections of the Dead was one of those perfect songs. It was one of the last songs that I came up with for this record. And the moment I came up with it, I had a feeling about it. And then when I sent it to Joe Taylor to record his lead, because we were doing FTP, whatever, upload, all that stuff. Because again, we were not getting together face to face. And he told me as well, he said, dude, he goes, this is a really, really good song. And then when I sent him the song with the lyrics, the melodies, the singing, the vocals, he's like, this is really good. He goes, this might be up there with Die Alone. And then I got a response from our mastering engineer, or Applebaum, who also said, it's a great song. This is a great song. And I started feeling like, okay, this is, again, what I meant about carving my niche. I'm a big fan of super heavy, slow riffs with real pretty layered stuff on top, you know, whether it be the sweet vocal melodies or sweet little twinkly guitars going on, or piano on top of some heavy low end drums and guitars and bass rhythm guitars. I'm a big fan of that combination. I'll always be doing it like that. And so I can say for myself too, I love all the songs are mine, so I love them all. But Reflections of the Dead is really high on the mark for me. I'm really, and the label said the same thing when they heard that song back in April when I sent them the record. They right away suggested what they felt was singles and what needed to be, and they were like, "This song will be. We won't release it right away. We'll release it later, and we should do the video for this song." And I was like, yeah, it makes sense. And the song and the lyrics lended itself to this visuals. I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but you should, if you didn't. Lended itself to the visuals that are happening. Mind you, the video was filmed in the forests of outside of Gothenburg, Sweden. Sweden has these types of trees. Their forests are so pure and untainted, and these types of pine trees are very kind of wicked looking. The way
they're dark looking.
What?
They're dark looking. I've watched the video actually.
Yeah, there's just this kind of vibe going on from the trees, the forests, and so he filmed a lot of those scenes. They were in the forests, the countryside of outside of Gothenburg, Sweden, and again, the actress and everyone that was in the video, they're all Swedish. And they seem to, and the director Joel is Swedish, and again, it's the same thing like the previous video was filmed in Sweden as well. I'm a big fan of making cinematic type of videos. I'm not really into, the 4 guys, 5 guys on stage performance videos. To me, performance videos are kind of boring. It's like, how many times are you going to watch a bunch of dudes jumping up and down on stage? It's cool, good for you. We did it on Lay My Soul to Waste with DMSLT. We did do a performance studio video where we're all playing. But then when I watch that video, it's like, okay, it's cool, but I need more. There's not enough going on. I need a story. And so that's why these last 2 videos we've done with our director tell a story and kind of suck you in like you're watching a short movie. And the lyrics is the narrative, right? The lyrics is the narration of the movie. So I feel that stuff like that will be remembered more because performance videos are a dime a dozen. Everyone does them, especially because it's cheap to do. It's cheap to just have a friend hold the camera. All right, everybody, jump up and down. So I'm hoping my next goal is actually for the next video. I want to get myself to Sweden so I can play a part in the next video and be like basically an actor. I would do that. I think, or even like if you have the ability of having your band members in a video, they should all be actors in this movie, is how I see it. Then it gets interesting. It'll get interesting like that too. So, I'm just, I'm happy, but I'm also happy because I have a lot of other things going on in my life. My kids are doing good in school. They're back in school because they were shut down. I'm in New York State. Yeah. So New York State, no different than California. It's ran by buffoons. So we were shut down so hard. My kids were home from school for a year. I saw the toll it took on my oldest daughter. You have so many untold stories about kids committing suicide because of it. And they don't talk about that. They talk about bullshit feelings and other things, people's blah, blah, blah. They talk about their agenda, but they don't talk about the truth about how many people have gotten into addiction, how many marriages have been abusive or fell apart, and how many people have committed suicide because they're alone and they're locked in their house. So.
Yeah. It's a crazy time. It's like even here in Kentucky, man, the same things happened here. The kids didn't go to school for a year and now they're getting back in the swing of things. And now parents are scared. How are you going to keep my child safe? And as I told several people this, I said, it's going to be to the point where some child loses their life and then all hell's going to break loose. God
And
forbid,
it's already happened.
Yeah.
It's already happened, though. There are kids that are losing their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like I said, Americans need to open their eyes and wake up, because a lot of dumb people are trying to feed a lot of dumb shit, especially to the younger generation that don't know better. Today's the memorial of 9/11.
Yes,
honestly, I was watching the news up until I got through to you. And my wife was crying downstairs. I kind of teared up too, because I remember that day clearly. I was actually supposed to go do a production job at the jazz festival that day in the courtyard of the Towers.
Oh, God.
Yes. And I fortunately had to bail because I realized I was double booked on another gig, because back in those days I used to do freelance production work in New York City. So I had my apartment in Brooklyn, and I remember you could see even where I lived, the papers with the burning embers and the burnt edges just floating in the air, just traveling in the breeze. And I didn't go there that day, but I made sure a week later, a bunch of us, we went to the site because that site burned for months. It burned for months before. And so the smell, I know it was probably not the healthiest decision to go down there a week later, but look, I'm a native New Yorker. I was born and raised in New York City, so I felt I needed to go. And so we went to go pay our respects while it was still in the heat of it all. And so I remember distinctly the smell of the mixture of everything burning, whether it was the construction materials, the fireproofing stuff, or the fuel from, just everything, and most likely probably human beings. So today really should be, I don't understand why, it's not a national holiday. It should be. And we just got these families just got the biggest slap in the face. And the veterans just got the biggest slap in the face. And the soldiers that sacrificed their lives just got the biggest slap in the face. The fire department, New York Fire Department, and New York Police Department got the biggest slap in the face in this past couple of weeks by this whole Afghanistan fiasco. And so we are being led by buffoons, and the country is 50% of the country is so brainwashed that you have foolish people actually turning against the country, being anti-patriot or anti-America. And this is, I think all these people should get on a boat and go to Venezuela, or go to Cuba, and go see what this socialistic idea is really about. Go see what communism is really about, and then you tell me if you want America to be that way. So I got a big problem with all that business right now, because I'm of an older generation, and I think we had a lot of people sacrifice a lot the last 20 years. So the end result that we just got is just a shame. It's really a shame. And then we lost 13 young people that some of them weren't even born when 9/11 happened. We lost some young people 2 weeks ago, okay, because of foolish decisions, because for some reason, I don't know. Country's very divided, and it's unfortunate, because we're supposed to be the United States of America. We're supposed to be on the same team, but unfortunately, we're a little bit divided, and that's a shame.
It is very, very a shame. Were there any tracks that didn't make this album, Sal, that we can see on this next album that's coming up possibly, or were these all added on here and done with?
No, as I have no leftover stuff. No, that's what I love about this record too. I wrote everything in 2020, fresh. When the World Becomes Undone was a little bit, had a lot of stuff that was sitting on the hard drive over the years. But this record was written all fresh, starting in early 2020 and then late 2020. I'm the kind of writer that if I come up with a riff, if I right away, I know, this ain't right. I don't even bother to record it. So I don't bother to record stuff that doesn't have what it takes to make it on a record. I don't even bother. Why bother? I'll track it. I'll listen back like to a part, and I'll be like, nah. And it just, I usually just delete it, or just, I don't even go that far to waste my time because time is precious. I'm lucky I can get maybe when I was recording this record, I was moonlighting because I also work to support my family too. And I have my hands on other businesses to keep money coming in from all different directions. So I don't got time to waste on music that doesn't cut it. So I don't have any leftover songs from this record, but what I do have is a month, 3 weeks ago or something, or a month ago, I had tracked an idea. And then the other day I was working on the guitar and I came up with 2 parts that when I get a chance, I'm going to record them, which I can see potentially becoming a song as well. So my head's spinning, and I'm looking to do more cinematic type of soundscapes. And I'm pretty anxious to I'm more anxious to record and write more music than actually to go do a show right now, to be honest with you, because of the way things are.
Yeah, sure. Was there a track that you were working on that totally ended up sounding different than it was intended to? Did one song maybe take a major turn?
No major turn. No, the style and the direction was pure. It was, I knew where I was going with it. So what I had to do was typical things like shorten some stuff here and there, or after listening to something, there's one too many times that happens in the bar or the measure. Same thing with the soundscapes. I got carried away with the soundscapes because I love all that stuff. So I'd be like, well, this is too long. This is too long for a soundscape. We gotta edit it down and change it a little bit to make it make sense at a shorter length. Things like that would happen. And then just the constant critiquing and listening on so many different devices, whether it's listening to, on flat, proper studio monitors, listening to proper monitor headphones, then going to the car and listening in the car on the stereo in the car, then listening to it on big tower speakers, stereo speak. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on to really analyze how it was sounding across the board before it even got sent to mastering. And no major turns with the exception of trimming, trimming some length.
Mm. I got one typo question for you, my friend, because I've always asked you about typo stuff. If Peter was still with us, bro, who would you have liked to seen Typo Negative tour with? Or was there a tour that Typo Negative should have done but didn't, possibly?
I would say hands down Black Sabbath.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We were all Black Sabbath fans, Beatles and Black Sabbath. That was the Typo staple.
Do you still have a go-to album, Sal, that you find yourself going back to and listening to? Ever since you were little up to now, just an album or a song that you can't shake, man. Is there one that you have to go back and listen to ever so often?
One will be the predecessor, the Carnivore's Retaliation. That record, from the first moment I heard it, I was already friends. I started by taking drum lessons from Louis Beato, the drummer of Carnivore, and that was Peter's prior band prior to Typo Negative. And so I was friends with Peter. I mean, I met these guys when I was at a very young age, started hanging out with them at rehearsals, but I thought the first album was great. But when I heard the second record, he did such a crossover of thrash / hardcore metalcore / Sabbath, / Suicide, that sometimes that record's like my Bible. Like, I'll listen to it to get inspiration. And that record is hands down. If you haven't heard that record, whoever hasn't heard that record, go check out Carnivore's Retaliation, because it's an incredible record. It gives you a lot of insight on where Peter was and how the transition to Typo Negative Slow, Deep, and Hard happened, because Slow, Deep, and Hard had material that would have been Carnivore's third record had they not broken up. So that's why Slow, Deep, and Hard is so aggressive sounding and so raunchy, because there was material on that record that would have been the third Carnivore record. And so that you can hear this transition. So if you get, for the Type O fans, if you go and get Retaliation and you listen then to Slow, Deep, and Hard, you're going to hear that connection. And so that was a big record for me. I loved it from the moment I was hearing them played in rehearsals. And then of course the other stuff is like, Black Sabbath's first record, the Beatles, White Album, Sgt. Pepper's. I'm a big analyst of Beatles music. I believe if you want to learn how to write songs, listen to Beatles 24/7, because you're not going to learn how to write songs by listening to, something, whatever, recent. Those guys were so, the breakdown of pure songcraft, writing songs. If you analyze all that stuff and then you take it and make it your own, whether it be metal, speed metal, blah, 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 how to do key changes, how to do harmonies, how to do real melodies, that's the stuff to listen to. I mean, there'll never be another band like the Beatles ever again, because they just, with George Martin, who was the fifth Beatle, it was just outstanding recording production and outstanding songwriting. So I would have on the Sirius thing, the Beatles channel, and I'd listen to that nonstop until it expired, and I didn't want to pay for it again.
I've always said, man, the Beatles were way ahead of their time. I mean, I know that everybody was crazy about them, but I was just to think about it and research and listen from song to song, it's like, man, they're so way ahead of their damn time.
Especially the psychedelic years.
Yeah. The transition, man. It just like
once the drugs came into the picture, I mean, if you listen carefully, every time you listen to a song, you'll hear something in the background that you didn't know was there.
Yeah.
I mean, for the way technology was back then in the 60s, the things that they pulled off, the things that their producer George Martin pulled off was incredible. Because see, everyone's spoiled now. They all got Pro Tools or Logic, and you have limitless tracks. Limitless, right? You can have 50 tracks. Back then, they had 4 tracks, maybe 8. So what they accomplished was incredible. And then the musicianship was just off the hook. And, even if you listen to Ringo Starr's drumming, he was really, really good. He was just like Charlie Watts, nobody gives these guys a lot of credit in the metal world, but these guys, they had the groove and knew how to flip a beat around. And there's a lot to be learned from them.
Yeah. And I just thought about this too. These newer bands are never going to have to go through the pain of cutting tape and splicing and doing all that shit like you guys used to have to do. And I go back and look and I'm like, oh my God, no reason why they were fucking pissed and like, I want this done over with, because you don't have that luxury like you do now, man.
I was part of that generation, because the early Typo records, all the Typo records were, up the ones that I was involved with was 2-inch tape.
Mm-hmm.
We would record the 2-inch tape, 24 track, and then it would bounce down to 1/4-inch tape for mixing and editing and all that stuff. And they'd be cutting it with the razor, splicing and doing all this business. The musicians of today don't know what that's all about. Even the musicians of 10 years ago don't know what it's about, or 20 years ago what it's about. So I consider myself very fortunate for being part of that analog generation. And that was another thing we did with this record, was even though the Basics were recorded digitally, the mastering engineer, Maor Applebaum, heard the retro sounds that I was going for because, used very old sounding type of drums, old sounding guitars, a lot of fuzzy stuff. And he ran the mastering, he ran the mixes through all this vacuum tube glass analog equipment to put in the warmth and feel that analog would give you if the record was made in the 80s, let's say, or late 70s. So that's another thing about the record having this kind of analog weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
That was another interesting thing we did that I enjoyed working with with.
Folks, A Pale Horse Named Death will release their 4th studio album entitled Infernum In Terra on September 24th via Long Branch Records /SPV. You want to get out and pick that album up. Trust me, they don't have a bad song. That's just my opinion. And I'm not saying that because Sal's on here. I've been a big fan of these guys for a long time. And I like what they bring to the table for music. To me, it's a fresh breath of air because there's so much stuff of the same thing out there. This band is totally different. If you like the old Black Sabbath stuff, the doom and gloom sides of it, this is your band. Trust me. They have nothing bad out there. So, Sal, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy this album, these singles, everything A Pale Horse Named Death wise? How can they do that, sir?
Well, you can go to a couple of sites because Napalm Records and SPV are now together. So you can go to napalmrecords.com and order the album, the bundles. We have also splatter vinyls, which are like splattered. One is red and clear, looks like it's splattered with blood, and then there's a black and white splatter album. You can also go to the Long Branch lbrshop.com. You also can find all these links to get the record at www.apalehorsenameddeath.com, facebook.com/APHND. We have everything. It's all pinned at the top where to go to get stuff from, whether it's Bandcamp, Napalm Records, SPV. You can order this stuff. Amazon will be, I believe, has it. You can get the digital formats, of course, on iTunes. So you can also check us out on Instagram.com/APHND and Twitter/APHND, Twitter.com. I don't know. There's so much of this social stuff. Again, me being an old bird, I lose track of all the different URLs. So definitely you can do all of that. And by all means, if you have any comments or questions, you can write to the social media stuff because it's me that answers everybody. I check it every day. I'm hands-on with updating it along with the label. So you can, if you have a question for me, you can send a message to Facebook or Instagram. You can follow us and say, hey, Sal, why is your beard so white now? And I'll tell you, so you can ask me whatever you want. I find it amusing and a lot of fun to answer fans' questions because that's for me the greatest reward. I don't do this for money. This is no money making business anymore, really. I do it to hear the stories that the fans tell me on how a song or a record has impacted them and their life, or how it's helped them, or that to me is the reward. That's the payment I get, is feeling this feeling of gratification of people really connecting with it.
Before I let you go, good sir, as always, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Sure. Hey, everybody. This is Sal Abruscato from A Pale Horse Named Death, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Be sure to crank it up.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. And please, folks, I'm begging you, just please subscribe to our YouTube link because we got a lot of stuff that's coming up there. Also, please get out and check out A Pale Horse Named Death. Pick up this new album that's coming out on September 24th called Infernum In Terra. I love this band. I've said it many times. I preach it. They're great, and this is what the music world needs. And like I said, I'm not saying it because Sal's on here. I've always thought that. So give this band a chance. And Sal, brother, love you, and always you're welcome back.
Likewise.
Anytime, man.
Thank you for the honor. Take care.
listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.